What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome into MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. Sunday, May 18th, 10 games to talk about, starting in just over an hour. Joined this morning, as usual, on Sundays by Third and Schlong. Bryce, how you doing on this Sunday morning?
I'm doing great. Was able to build my teams before we got on the show, just because we're going to be running with the 105 lock, which is kind of annoying. And I do think you can fade the first game if you need more time. But we have all the lineups in. Going to power through the show real quick. And then I'm heading to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway later for qualifying today.
There you go. Headed to the Speedway. Never been to a Speedway myself. I don't know if I'll ever make it to the track races, but I'm sure that'll be fun. Like you said, we do got 10 games to talk about, and I wish they would have left that Houston and Texas game off and just done the 135 start, but is what it is. Like you said, I do think you can fade that first game. We'll talk about it here, of course, as we go through all the games. And it is the first game of the slate. Astros at Rangers. This one, of course, in the Dome in Texas. Framber Valdez going for the Astros, who I do think is one of the better options on, I think, a pretty tough pitching slate overall. 7,900 feels like a discount for Framber. Matchup is fine against Texas. Not great, but fine. And then Jack Leiter on the other side, who I did use pretty extensively against the Rockies last time out. He was good in that game. Has good stuff, Bryce, but can be all over the place with the control. I do think he's an okay play here at 7,100. Curious where you ended up on Leiter, Valdez, and, of course, any hitters in this game that you're going
to. Not really interested in the bats here. I'm more interested in pitching in the game. I think Framber's a solid option. I'll probably have him. I think I have around 20% Framber in my file. Likely not playing him on my main team just because there's a couple of guys I do like more here. Leiter, I think, would be like a deep GPP play. Like, say you're playing 20 max, I'd play him on 1. Like, he probably wouldn't make my cut in like 10 max and definitely not in 3 max. So, I mean, as you said, he's a variable pitcher, which is okay for GPPs. And, it's not like this Houston lineup really scares you. He gets a ton of right-handed bats. I don't think they have a single lefty in the lineup today. So...
No, I mean, I'll make a stronger case for Leiter, who I did like last time out. I mean, I do think the stuff is legit with him. You're going to get, probably close to 100 pitches against a lineup that's all right-handed that we don't fear. He's cheap, and it looks like nobody's playing him. So I think Leiter's got quite a few things going for him in GPPs. I'll be mixing him in, even on 3 of 5 teams on Jack Leiter, just given his props must be bad, Bryce. What must it be on Leiter? Because, he's a talented pitcher and the matchup is good. I don't see
4.5 strikeouts, probably throws 5 innings, according to props.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense. I think the upside's there for the over on both of those. But, little disagreement on Leiter. I'm with you on Valdez. I do think he's one of the better options. And, bats in this game, I think there are better places to go. So let's keep it moving to the 135 games. We start off in Baltimore here. I got to wear my Orioles hat, Bryce. It's a rare situation where you can wear the Orioles hat in good faith and recommend stacking this team. But I do think today is one of those days. The Orioles will get to go up against Mike Soroka, pitcher to target against, in my opinion, in what looks like a pretty great day to hit in Baltimore. Hot, or not hot, but, in the 70s, some humidity and winds blowing out to right field, which is a better place to hit home runs in this park anyway. So these Baltimore lefties and righties, but the lefties in particular, look good for me against Soroka. And I kind of like this Nationals team, too, against Zach Eflin. Crushed Kyle Gibson yesterday. Eflin's a better pitcher, but kind of a similar style of pitcher. All offense for me in this one, Bryce. What are you looking at with Orioles and Nationals?
I want nothing to do with the pitching here. I don't even know if Eflin made my pool. He did not. I think it's kind of a tough spot for him against a decent Nationals lineup in pretty solid hitting conditions. Like the Nationals bats that you worry about too, and I do like the Nationals bats here, the lefties, and the lefties profile better in this game. Just because, as you suggested with the wind, I do agree with that. I do prefer lefties.
I mean,
In this game.
Abrams and Wood
Yeah,
at the top look like really good plays.
yeah, they've been awesome too.
Yeah.
I would probably prefer like a Nationals like 3-man with Abrams, Wood, and then like choose another player.
Sure.
Cheap guy at the bottom of the order, and I think Lowe is a decent play too.
I think all 9 Nationals
Ruiz,
fine.
Garcia. Bell. They all profile pretty well to me. I think Tanya is fine if you need like a very cheap punt, and then the Baltimore side of the game I like a ton too. I do like them more than Nationals. Soroka's a guy I actively target, and it's a really good hitting environment, as we said. Plus, it's a pretty cheap lineup. Like leadoff 3.3, second hitter 3.5, and then you get Gunnar and Adley both under 5K. Like Laureano's a good play today at 3K. I think O'Hearn's a good play at 4.2. And then you get 2 super cheap guys at the bottom of the order. So I kind of like the whole lineup. Preference to kind of the top 5, and Laureano is where I would target.
Yeah. So Soroka's obviously a good play. Not a good play, a good pitcher to target against, kind of what initially puts us on these Baltimore bats. But then you've got maybe the worst bullpen in baseball behind Soroka, who's not going to go deep. And the Nationals do have 2 lefties in the pen, but both of them have thrown 2 out of the last 3 days. I'm guessing that the Nationals will probably use neither of them. So it should be all right-handed pitchers, bad ones, coming out of the bullpen for the Nationals. So some of these Orioles bats, that kind of profile not so well, a lefty might get pinch hit for. Guys like, Heston Kierstad, Holiday is better left or with the platoon advantage. O'Hearn could be pinch hit for. I think most of them, or maybe all of them, should be safe in this game. So in on this Orioles stack, we'll go to it today. And then, those Nationals lefties look good to me. So, give me all the bats. I know you're with me on Washington and Baltimore. Should be a high-scoring game, hopefully, in Baltimore today. We go to Fenway Park. Similar weather conditions here. Some heat, some humidity, and winds out to right field. Should be a good day for offense in Fenway, you would think. 2 decent pitchers. Brian Bayo going for the Red Sox. He's been up and down, kind of like he goes. Kind of a middle pack type pitcher, Brian Bayo. And then Spencer Schwellenbach, who I do like as a pitcher, as a talent. Been a little shaky over the last month or so. And I do think you could go to a contrarian Red Sox stack. I don't think I'll get to it myself, but not a ton of interest in playing Schwellenbach in this matchup either. Don't think I'm getting to Bayo. Some interest in the Braves bats with the weather. I think there's a couple ways you could play this game, Bryce, but what are you doing with Braves and Red Sox here?
Prefer bats here for sure. I like the Atlanta stack against Bayo. They're pretty reasonably priced here. These bats used to be like super expensive, and Atlanta's kind of. They're playing much better ball than they have been. I'm much more apt to stack Atlanta than I was, say 2 weeks ago, and they were kind of down in the dumps there. So I think the lineup's coming around. Favorite bats here for Atlanta would be like kind of Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, and then I think Verdugo, Ozzie are decent plays. I think Michael Harris is a decent play here, and you get a left-hand or get a lefty catcher. It's never.
Don't Drake can hit. Don't be shaming your guy Drake Baldwin. He can play.
No, I struggle playing him over like Adley when Adley's 400 more, but Drake Baldwin's been really good this year. So, I think he's my second highest owned catcher on the slate after Adley. So I do like Drake Baldwin here. And then, a contrarian Red Sox stack, I think is an interesting proposition. I definitely don't mind it. I didn't get tons of them this first run.
Stranger things have happened than the Red Sox going off in Fenway.
I kind of like the Red Sox today. I might rework that a bit. Only negative is like the guys you do want to play. Like it's a very top heavy lineup today. Like after Trevor Story, this lineup drops off like pretty hard. So I think that would be the case for Schwellenbeck. Like you can get like the top 5 out and then just kind of cruise through the bottom 4, like Toro, Wong, Hamilton, Rafaela.
I think if you're playing the Red Sox, it's the top guys, right?
It's a top of the order stack. Yeah. And I would probably prefer them as minis, but you could do the top 5. And then my interest in Schwellenbeck is somewhat muted. It's not like a great pitching slate, so he does make my pool here. But I think I had, let's see here. I think I had 7% Schwellenbeck in the file I'm likely going to play here. So it's not like I really like him or anything. I would probably prefer the Boston Bats if like I had to choose.
I just don't love playing pitchers going into Boston when it's good hitting conditions.
Neither do I.
They're good hitters in there. It's just
neither do I. I just think you can make the case like for a small amount of him, like just based on like how bad the bottom of the order is today.
Yeah, again, I think on paper it looks okay, but it just seems like these types of spots don't work out for opposing pitchers going into Fenway, in these types of spots. So not going to get there. Mostly bats here. I do think that, the Braves could be interesting. I mean, Bayo can definitely kind of fall apart with the control, command, start, falling behind hitters. And the Braves could do some damage. So not my primary stack, but mostly hitting for me. And no surprise, I guess, when it's the good hitting conditions in Fenway. Let's go to Philly, another pretty good spot for bats here. Again, similar weather, some heat, some humidity, winds out to right field. Going to be Paul Skeens going for the Pirates. Coming off a decent outing against the Mets. It's been a lot like most of his outings, Bryce, where he's been, kind of around that 20 fantasy point mark for most of his performances, which, is good, but kind of a disappointment, I guess, for what we maybe expected from Skeens. Another tough spot here against a dangerous Phillies lineup in a dangerous ballpark to pitch in. Skeens versus Phillies is interesting, Bryce. I think you could make the case for Skeens or some of this power from the Phillies bats. I don't think is out of play. And then making his MLB debut will be Phillies prospect Mick Abel, who's been pretty good in the minor leagues, throwing a decent amount of strikeouts, pitching pretty deep into games. He did throw 92 and 96 pitches in each of his last 2 and is on normal rest here. So I do think Mick Abel will be hoping to go 90-plus pitches, 5+ innings in this one against a good matchup, of course, against the Pirates. So, not all the way out on Mick Abel here. Bryce, what are you doing here? I think a lot of different ways to play this one, Philly and Pittsburgh.
I'm going to kind of take a wait-and-see approach with Mick Abel. I think he likely doesn't make my pool today. Guy making his debut, Pirates offense is atrocious, but I think you can make like a Cruz Reynolds stack, like a 2-man and then, pick your other guy here if you want to make it a 3-man. I don't think it's the worst play. I do like Cruz here. Philly's side is a lot more interesting because Skeens has not been like elite, but I don't think I think it's more like his strikeout numbers, like everything else kind of seems fine to me. So it's a situation where I'm not like dying to play Skeens. I'm probably gonna be around 20% on him just because, it's not like he's like 11K, but
what's interesting to me, Bryce, is his best outing of the year was in Los Angeles against the
Dodgers when absolutely no one played him.
This is kind of a similar spot, right? Like the big matchup on the road against a marquee team. I don't know. Maybe he pitches half his game in Pittsburgh. Maybe he gets up for these games against kind of the bigger opposition. But
and I mean Philly will strike out. Like they have, like they're a dangerous team, but they will strike out. I think it's kind of a high volatility situation on both
That's
sides.
what I'm saying. I mean, he's pumping 100 miles per hour against Harper and Schwarber. Like, yeah, it's a dangerous spot, but it seems like either a home run or a strikeout a lot of the times against hitters like that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he comes in like super owned here. So, like, I think like 25% will kind of be over the field, which is kind of where I'm at on him. And then the Phillies, like, I would probably prefer them as like one-offs or three-mans here, like trying to pick some power in some of their high upside bats as opposed to like a five-man stag.
I think I don't know what I'm going to do with Skeens yet, but I do think Stott, Harper, Schwarber, I do think there's some of the best one-offs on this slate given the relative low ownership. And like you said, I mean, Skeens, if you watch him, like he'll challenge anybody. Yeah, I mean, not like he should, right? I mean, he's got one of the best fastballs in baseball, but this Phillies power will get like good swings on pitches they know are coming on the heater against Skeens. So I do think they're good for one-off. Schwarber in particular is the one I'm looking at. But yeah, I think Skeens is a good play at 20, 25% ownership. You're out on Abel. I get that. Looks like he'll be pretty low owned, which I think is a little bit enticing against that lineup on this slate. But yeah, I think wait and see approach with Abel does make the most sense. Let's keep it moving. Detroit and Toronto up next. This one north of the border in Canada. It is Detroit. I guess still prospect Jackson Joe pitching. Another one of these young pitchers are often like this, where you just don't know what to expect. He was roughed up in Colorado. I think I did play him in that start in Coors. Didn't go well, and then, of course, bounces back with his best outing of the year against the Red Sox last time out, 7 strikeouts. He did still walk 5 batters in that game, but good at least to see the strikeouts there, Bryce. I don't got a lot of interest in Joe going into Toronto. I think the Blue Jays stack is somewhat interesting. And then Barrios against the Tigers, I do think is a reasonable play here at 7,600, but I do like those Tigers lefty bats, specifically Carpenter, McKinstry, and Green as well. Over to you, Bryce, for Tigers and Blue Jays here.
Not going to play any Job here. I think Barrios is a decent play for 7,600. He's not like my primary pitcher, or like going to make my main team or anything, but he is a guy that I do kind of want to be over here. I'm getting around 20% Barrios, which seems about right to me. So I'm just going to leave that. Tigers bats, mainly use them as three-mans here. Not like tons of interest, but I would pick off these lefties and completely agree with you on them. Riley Green being the top play for me. Yeah. Blue Jays bats, I think they're fine. We don't like Job, so I think there's some interest in the Blue Jays bats. It's just not in general like a super like high upside lineup. So I kind of prefer like smaller stacks for Toronto as well. I think Bichette's very cheap. Vlad's always a good play.
Varsho's been crushing. I mean, this stack it looks pretty good.
You can go.
Yeah, I just say, I mean, Job, I think, is just all over the place in terms of what to expect. And then, they are, I know, disappointing, but like still pretty good hitters. Bichette, Guerrero, Varsho, even down to Kirk and Santander, I think are fine. So,
I mean, you get like a cheap shortstop, like a super cheap catcher hitting first and fourth. Yeah. Like it's not an expensive stack, so you can kind of do whatever you want with the rest of your team. So I get the 5-mans. I'm playing more 3-mans than 5 here in my file currently, but I think Toronto bats are fine today. Like they don't jump off the page as like amazing plays, but that's baseball. All it takes is a couple swings and they do become amazing plays. So don't mind them at all.
Yeah, someone said it earlier, but a few of these teams have they're not great stacks, but they do have awesome one-off plays. I think the Phillies fall into that with that left-handed power, and then the Tigers. I think they're just Carpenter, McKinstry, and Green, the 3 lefties. I think are clearly the best plays. You could go down to, I guess, Trey Sweeney down there at the shortstop too. But yeah, Barrios has had those splits for most of his career. So Tigers lefties look good. I think the Toronto full stack is in play against Job as well. Let's go to Cincinnati. Going to be good hitting weather today in Cincinnati. No weather concerns, as often seems to plague that park. 70, sunny, and winds out to center field in Great American Ballpark. We know that's going to make this today's best hitting environment of the slate. Our friends over at Ballpark Pal have a 31% increase in home runs expected in this game. And Luis Ortiz going for the Guardians. Andrew Abbott throwing from the left side for the Reds. I think both of these pitchers capable of giving up home runs, especially to opposite-handed batters. So that would be the righties from Cleveland and the lefties from the red side of the ball. Ellie, I think, in one of the best plays on the slate. Bryce, what do you see here? Reds and Guardians.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with the pitching here. I don't even think Abbott. Now, Abbott snuck in at 4% here, and I don't really like that play, so I'm not going to recommend it or anything. I mean, it's bats for me here. I do prefer the Cincinnati side a bit to the Cleveland side, but this Cleveland stack is like turbo cheap if you want to play it. Quad and Ramirez are kind of expensive, and then after that, it's just like everyone else is kind of free. Big Christmas Noel, I think, is a really good play at 2.4K. I kind of like a lot in this lineup, and then going over to the red side, the Reds are kind of frustrating just because it's kind of like Ellie and then like everyone else, but like Ellie's can't do it all himself. Like you have to play some of the other Reds. I would prefer, I think Hayes, Stevenson, and Benson after Ellie. And then probably one of the top two, Friedel or Espinal if I was building a 5-man stack. But I think this is definitely a game that you want to get exposure to today.
Yeah, seeing some love for Ortiz. I don't think I can do it. I can see the case against the Reds, but I don't know. They're another one where when they get in these good conditions in their home park, they seem to come through a lot. But again, going back to my other point, I mean, the Reds are another team with a clear, awesome play, and then it kind of falls off right after Ellie De La Cruz. Like, he is just head and shoulders above the rest of his teammates in terms of DFS play today. So I still do like the whole stack, but I do have teams where, I mean, Ellie's one of the first guys I want in my lineup, but beyond that, it does feel like you're kind of overpaying for most of these guys. Will Benson, I'll say he's hot, and also he just seems to have these stretches. I know he had one last year. I think it was about around this time where he just goes on a tear, hits a bunch of home runs, and then kind of turns into a pumpkin again. So it does seem like a pretty good time to play Will Benson, 3 home runs over his last few games down there in the 7-hole. And then good cheap bat for the Guardians. Hasn't done much this year, but Big Christmas. Joan Kenzie Noel hitting 5th at 2,400. Pretty good home run chance against Andrew Abbott. A pitch, this is a spot born for Big Christmas. Nice weather in Great American against the lefty. If you can't do it here, going to be tough doing it anywhere. About the best spot that he could be in all season. Let's go to Tampa Bay and Miami up next. Roof closed in Miami here, but could still see some runs. This park playing not too bad this year. Shane Baz going for Tampa Bay. I don't know what to expect from Shane Baz. Really talented guy, but 3 negative outings on DK in his last 5. Of course, dominated in San Diego between those. Really a pitcher that's just all over the place. We'll see how he does against Miami. I don't think I'm going to play much Shane Baz, but it does make some sense against a strikeout-heavy Marlins team. And then one of the worst pitchers in baseball, Cal Quantrill, going for Miami here. He of a 7 ERA and a 1.6 whip. Been bad for years, Bryce. I love the Rays stack here against Quantrill. Bad bullpen behind Quantrill, and I believe no lefties available in the pen for the Marlins here. So some of these pinch hit risks, both Josh Lowe and Brandon Lau and Cameron Meisner down in the 7 hole should be safe in this one. So I'm in on the Rays against Quantrill and this Marlins bullpen. Over to you, Bryce. What do you see for Tampa and Miami here?
I got a lot of love for Tampa in this game and not for Miami. I think Baz is one of the better pitcher plays on the slate. He's my second highest owned pitcher here and my preferred SP2. We'll get to my favorite one here shortly, but strikeout heavy Marlins lineup. I've been a buyer on Baz all year, and I'm going to continue to be. I think he has a ton of upside. Not only in this matchup, but pretty much every start. And you get him in a good park like this. I like him a good amount. Rays bats. As you said, Quantrill's a guy that you should be actively targeting pretty much every time he steps on the mound. He's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. So, and them not having lefties available in the pen is pretty big because, Tampa loves to pinch hit. And it's one of the most annoying things about like full stacking this team is like, it's not that hard to like randomly get like a couple guys yanked from your stack. And, if that doesn't happen today, it's just all the better for them. I think they're going to be probably my fourth highest owned stack right now, but I'm not like going crazy on any one team today. Just kind of letting my main team dictate that. So I should be well over on the Tampa Bay bats. My favorite bat here would be Brandon Lau.
Yeah. Just to be very clear, there's no lefty coming out of the pen for Miami today. So it's going to be these guys are getting all righties for the whole game, starting with Cal Quantrill, which doesn't get much better than that. I really like Meisner down there for cheap in the 7 holes. Got big power. And one of those guys who can crush bad pitching, gets owned by good pitching, but he'll get bad ones today. So absolutely love Tampa. I think they're going to do a lot of damage to Quantrill and this Marlins pen. Let's go to Kansas City, Bryce, for St. Louis and the Royals. The Liberator, Matthew Liberatore, pitching for the Cardinals. Been high on him, was all over him on that Pittsburgh start, 30 burger on DraftKings. Came a little bit back to earth against Philly, but no surprise. Still a pretty good performance going into Philly, putting up a solid outing. I do like his stuff a lot, and I do think he's in play here, but it's a tough strikeout matchup against the Royals, so I don't know if the upside is there for Liberatore. I still do expect him to pitch well with the wind blowing in and Doug Eddings behind the plate, calling balls and strikes in Kansas City. Decent spot for Liberatore, pretty much out on the Royals bats. And then Michael Wacha pitching for Kansas City here. He's been good once again, better at home as usual. He also, I expect to pitch well, Bryce, but I just don't know if he's going to get enough strikeouts against this Cardinals team to make him a good DFS play. I'm pretty much off this game, but what about you? What are you doing with St. Louis and Kansas City?
I don't normally end up with almost no one in a game, but this is one of those spots. I don't think either pitcher has tons of upside, but I don't like the bats either. They're just high contact teams, and that I don't really love for upside today. I think this is like a classic fade spot. Just all the everything going. Yeah. If I had to pick something in this game, it's obviously going to be like a Bobby Witt one-off. I think it's a fine play, but I still prefer an Ellie one-off to him. But Bobby Witt's still a really good player, obviously. That's pretty much all I have for you in this game. Witt was pretty much, I think, the only guy from this game that made my file in any significant capacity. Looks like I do have a couple Royals stacks here just because they're super cheap, but yeah, that's super low for me. It's kind of just Witt. I don't have a lot to add. I don't think you really need to play bats from this game. And yeah, pitching, I think the upside's limited. So we'll move it along to
Minnesota and the Milwaukee Brewers. Going to be Twins prospect of some note, Zebby Matthews, called up to make this start. Struggled last year in the majors, but I do think he is going to be good in the long term. Zebby Matthews, obviously, health and all that. If he can stay healthy, that's every pitcher. But an interesting spot here, I think, for Zebby against the Brewers. Matchup's okay. Was only throwing like 75-ish pitches in most of his AAA starts. So given how the Twins are, I would be kind of surprised if they stretched him out longer than 5 innings here, which reduces my interest as a DFS play, even at 6,800. And then Freddie Peralta going for Milwaukee. I will say the Twins winning a lot of games right now, so not the team to pick on that they once were. I still do like Freddie P here, though. What about you, Bryce? What do you see, Minnesota and Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best pitching slate. I think that Peralta's the best option on the slate. He just has strikeout upside that, not a lot of these other guys have. While the Twins lineup has been much better of late, it's not a lineup that scares me at all. Ty France, Cody Clemens, Bader, Kiersey, Vasquez, the lineup's been good. The Twins have been winning games, but none of these hitters scare me. I like Freddie today. I think Zebby's a decent, cheap arm that absolutely nobody's going to be on either. I definitely prefer pitchers in this matchup. I ended up with next to nothing on the Brewers here. So I do want some Zebby. I'm not going to go crazy on him, probably about 10% or so, but I do prefer him to the Brewers bats.
Yeah. Mostly pitching here for me as well with Twins and Brewers. All right, last game on the slate, Bryce, and we'll get out of here. Slate starts in 30 minutes. Let's go to Chicago for the White Sox and the Cubs in Wrigley Field. And, of course, as always, it's the weather that matters the most here. Going to be pitching weather in Wrigley, 55 degrees. Fairly strong winds, looking like they're straight in from center field. That'll, of course, help the pitchers here. Colin Rea going for Chicago Cubs, both Chicago teams here. And then Jonathan Cannon for the White Sox. Now, Cannon's been pretty good recently. I still don't have really any interest in playing him against this Cubs lineup. But on the other side, Bryce, I think Colin Rea is the easiest pitcher on the slate to play at 7,200, given the discount, the matchup, and the weather in Wrigley. I played a ton of Rea last time out against Miami. It was essentially the exact same situation. It was cool and wind blowing in. Gave you 18 fantasy points. I think something similar could be in line here. So he was the first guy in my lineup today, Mr. Rea. What about you, Bryce? What do you see in Battle of Chicago here?
I think you see an overpriced Cubs team that nobody's going to play just because they're so expensive. They still have upside. They like to steal a ton. So I wouldn't count the Cubs stack out, but they are too expensive for this spot with the wind blowing in. Cannon is not quite as bad as the rest of this White Sox pitching staff.
Probably their best arm, or maybe, yeah.
He's not good enough to where I want to play him, but he's also not bad enough to where I want to stack against him in a Wrigley wind in game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the Cubs are overpriced. I think the only argument you can make for playing them is nobody's going to play them because they're so expensive.
7 runs in the first inning, like they always do.
Yeah. Pete Crow Armstrong is the GOAT. That guy's my guy.
Yeah.
The Cubs have been very good to me this year, but I don't think this is a Cubs spot. Rea, I think, is a very solid play here. He's my third favorite pitcher on this slate, price adjusted. He falls just behind Baz for me, but I think if it makes sense, I think he's safer than Baz, but Baz carries a little more strikeout upside in my opinion.
I agree with that.
So, I like Rea. I like Rea a good amount too, and he's very cheap at 7.2K. So if you're looking at more expensive stacks, helps you fit some of them.
Yeah, famous last words, I'm sure. But for me, Rhea, the easiest play on this slate. I think he's way safer than Baz. But yeah, the strikeout upside, maybe not quite as high. But again, it is the White Sox. So who just have no power at all. So especially in this park, you don't have to worry about the long ball. I think Rhea gets enough strikeouts to get the job done today. Game 7, NBA, Bryce, who you got? Nuggets or OKC? No Aaron Gordon, so.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to bite the bullet and take the Nuggets like +9 or whatever it is. I've been kind of a buyer on the Nuggets and a seller on OKC for a while. I mean, it's going to take an absolute monster game for Jokic, but I do think the Nuggets keep this competitive, and I absolutely love Game 7. So I'm going to be building Showdown after this, or it's kind of hard to build Showdown for NBA without the starters. And I kind of think Peyton Watson starts tonight, but I could see them starting Strother as well after the game he had last time. But I think it'll be kind of a combination of those two to replace Aaron Gordon. And, they're going to need a good amount from – I know MPJ's playing hurt, but they're going to need a good game from him and, like, Russ not to do anything really dumb and, just trust Jokic and Murray.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a triple overtime game. Get both these teams tired legs for the series.
Yeah. Who would you prefer to see? Denver, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the futures odds, Minnesota's slight favorites against Denver and pretty big dogs they've got listed, which I think is wrong against OKC. I think that should be closer to a toss-up, but, definitely biased here as a Wolves fan. Yeah, can't do the NBA talk right now. Bryce, give us all at once. Give us a home run call. Give us your favorite pitching combination and your favorite stack of the day. And we'll get out of here.
I've kind of talked myself onto an Atlanta stack over a Baltimore stack. Those are my two favorites. So I'm going to go with Atlanta. Favorite pitching combo, Peralta Baz. And then home run call, we will go with Marcell Ozuna.
All right. Favorite pitchers for me, Colin Rea and Framber Valdez. Home run call, give me Cameron Meisner, and that's also my favorite stack is the Tampa Bay Rays today. That'll do it for this Sunday show. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back at the normal time tomorrow. Me, Big T, and JT. Always a fun Monday show. But that'll do it for me and Schlong today. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Monday. We are out.